And everybody, I'm Tom Cook, film professor at Keene State College. We're part of the University System of New Hampshire. If you don't know where Keene is, we're in the southwest corner of the state. This marks our fourth session of it's a class called Career Development in Film and Media, designed primarily for juniors and seniors in the film department. And we, throughout the semester, spend time looking at what are their options when they graduate. Do they want to go and get a particular job? And if so, what's going to be their skills that we can strengthen? Doing demo reels, learning how to do interviews, sending out resumes, things like that. Do you want to go to graduate school? Are you going to enter any of your films in a competition? So we spend the semester doing that, strengthening their skills in the hopes of hopefully ultimately any college will do this and any class will do this in getting work professionally when they get out. One of the more interesting aspects, and I think one of the more enjoyable aspects that we're able to do here, is every week we have a guest speaker, in this case, Zooming in and talking to the class. These are usually folks who have either graduated from the program, and I think our current students get a lot from them because they're able to tell us they can tell us old war stories about what the school was like and what the film department was like all those many years ago when they were here. But what was their path in moving on and either working in the industry or finding that, and let's be honest, not all of our grads will be working in the industry. Where did their path take them? And so we have graduates who talk about that. We have professionals in the film industry. Some of them are both who have actually graduated and worked professionally. This week, this is our fourth week, and we have a graduate, Kelsey Bean, who is a director of one of our advanced projects, and she's gone on and done quite a lot. And I'll let Kelsey spend the rest of her time introducing herself. Kelsey, thanks for joining us.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Sure.
So I'm Kelsey Bean. I graduated in 2018. I did the production 3-4 film Burnt Marshmallows. And I think that was in 2016.
Something like that. You had a wonderful guest star, didn't you?
Yes, Tom Walter was one of my actors.
Little plug.
It was cool. We ended up building a fort and then later burning it, which was really cool. We had the nearby fire department come in and supervise that and set it on fire and stuff for us. So that was pretty cool. And then while I was still in college, I worked on a film called Love and Kilnary. It is an independent feature film, and it, before the plague happened, was hitting all of the film festival circuits, and it's won a lot of awards. So hopefully it will get on DVD soon. And then I worked on an indie short called 8, and that was nuts. It was 5 days. We filmed it all in 5 days. And so my talk is going to be a little bit different than other people's probably because I don't consider myself super successful in the film industry because I have a lot of mental health issues, and not this last summer, but the one before that, I had moved to New York, and I was like, I'm going to do it. I'm going to, work for television shows. I'm going to make a name for myself. I'm going to make a lot of money. That did not happen. That did not happen. I discovered I have a paralyzing fear of cockroaches, and there are a lot of cockroaches in New York. Less so where I am now, which is actually 30 minutes away from Keene in a little town called Hinsdale. So I ended up moving back here from New York, and I'm working at the elementary school I actually went to as a child, and I just noticed I'm having horrific glare off of my TV onto my glasses, so we'll take those off right now. So I'm working at the elementary school I went to as a kid, And I was working there when the plague started and we all went remote. And so even though, I had to give up on New York, for now, maybe not forever, but for now, definitely, I still was able to use my skills because when we went remote, we started doing daily videos for the principal to keep in touch with the kids. And so I did about 55 videos in the span of like 2 months or something like that. When we went remote, I didn't have a day off because I was spending a day. If it wasn't a school day on the weekend or something, I was still like editing. I was prepping for the next week, that kind of stuff. And I became a more confident and a more skilled filmmaker because of it. Like I had to teach myself a lot of stuff on Premiere by just like Googling it and learning it. So don't be afraid to do that. I'm not really sure what to talk about. But no, like, I guess, like, I don't want to bum you guys out and be like, you can't make it, but I more want to be like, it's okay to fail. And you'll be able to still do stuff, even if you fail. And it's not always like you're failing and it's never you're failing and it's the end of the world. It's you failed in this and now you have to come up with another plan.
I'll jump in, Kelsey, real quickly and say I second that comment, that
Yeah.
failure doesn't mean it's over with.
Yeah.
And you can talk. A quick story about, you folks have all heard about the overnight acting sensations who are out in LA and they've never done anything and all of a sudden they're in a major television show. And they're the ones who have been out there bussing tables for 10 years. That, Kelsey, you went out and you've already done several projects, as you said, in New York. And so that was great. And it doesn't in any way, shape, or form mean that careers are over. And Kelsey already made a great point about how, yeah, you may not be in New York television, you may not be in Hollywood motion pictures, but you take these skills that you folks learned. And as Kelsey said, she was the director of our advanced project. She pitched the project, and we had the confidence in her to turn over to an entire year of other people, other students learning. And I thought the project turned out really well. And it's a surprise, and that's one of the reasons I'm glad Kelsey is here with us, to find the various venues that you can take these skills. Kelsey, I interrupted you. Go ahead.
No, that's okay. It's good.
You're used to my interrupting you.
I should talk a little bit more about my experiences with indie films, I suppose. So I worked on Love and Kilnary, and that's the first thing I worked on. And that's because this lovely producer on it emailed Keen and was like, hey, any of you guys want to work on this film? And me and a bunch of other people were like, we would like to work on this film, because they were filming over in Portsmouth. My roommate from freshman year up to senior year she lived in Durham. She has since moved. So I ended up staying with her basically all summer and working on Love and Kilnary. And even though it's won a bunch of awards, I have not gotten paid for it yet. However, if I ever do, it'll be a nice chunk of change, because when they first said, yes, we would like you to work for us, I was going to be a PA. And then they're like, hey, how do you feel about being second assistant director? I was like, okay, sure, I'll do my best. And then once I was on set, it's kind of a shit show. I don't know. Am I allowed to swear?
Fine with me.
Okay.
We're all adults here.
Okay, cool. It was kind of a shit show. It was a really great learning experience, and I made a lot of friends. But the original script supervisor they had, there was like a bunch of drama with her and she wasn't working out. So she ended up getting fired like first week of filming. And so at that point I had just, thrown myself into it and I was like, can do attitude, bright bushy tailed, stars in my eyes, I'm working on a movie kind of thing. And they were like, hey, can you try being script supervisor? I was like, I don't know. I've never, thought about it. It wasn't something we really talked about in classes. It was touched on, but it wasn't something we like went into depth to. And it ended up being like my niche because it turns out I'm like really detail oriented without really thinking about it. So basically in the span of 3 days, I got promoted twice, which was really cool. And it was a really cool learning experience. So if you are ever on a set, like just be open to trying new things, especially if you're still a student, because they like the bar's kind of on the floor for you. So if you mess up, they're going to be like, oh, this is a college student, we're teaching them. Obviously don't keep messing up, but hey, I messed up. How do I fix this? They'll be like, oh yeah, this is how you do it. Unless they're assholes, which, the world has those. I'm kind of all over the place. I should have made notes. If you are on a film set, it's a trick to being invaluable on a film set is if you ever see a cell phone laying around, like make note of it. The number of times I've told people where their phones are on set has been astounding, but that's more of just like small stuff. And then, okay, so then the indie film 8 was about this. Okay, it was about this guy. His name was Steve Mason. That he was the writer and the lead because it was about his father who went from an alcoholic to a police officer and then ended up committing suicide. And we filmed that all in Long Island over the course of like 5 days. And that was kind of a nutso production. But it was really good and he paid me at the end of it. So he's great.
Why would you say it was a nutso production? Just because was the hours that were demanded to get it done in 5 days?
That part was kind of crazy. It was nutso in the sense of like, it was super personal to this guy. And so he was really passionate about it. And he was kind of like this big buff guy and it could get a little intimidating. Shoot, I forgot what I was going to say.
What were your hours like on that? Were they different from the other one?
We had a really good AD on that. Cause he made our hours and he made sure we had an 8-hour turnaround time so that we could go and sleep for 8 hours, which Love and Kilnary did not have.
Really?
Yeah, it was shocking. So like Love and Kilnary, I think was a better production. Like the final product was better. The working conditions for 8 were by far better. Because like I said, he paid me at the end. And they made sure that we got sleep and stuff. And starting out, you guys might run into a lot of this where you might end up on a production where the script the script writer, the lead, and sometimes the director are all the same person. And those people are usually kind of divas because that's what it was like on Love and Kilnary. The lead actor was also the writer and kind of director. We had this other guy that was our director first, but then he was moving back to Iceland, I think, because he had kids and he wanted them to be able to speak both fluently. So they just moved back. And originally our production schedule was supposed to end before the guy left. but the scriptwriter kept changing things around, and it ended up running way over. He himself was kind of just a scatterbrained. So that was filmed in Portsmouth, that was filmed in Portsmouth. And like one of the things this guy did was, instead of walking around a way he was supposed to, he like jumped over kind of this railing and he dropped one of the very, very expensive walkie-talkies into the ocean. So you might run into that. You might be with those kind of people, and you just kind of gotta smile and wave, boys. Just smile and wave. But on that production, I worked with this cinematographer, Eric Camp, who was such a cool guy, and he worked on The Amazing Spider-Man with Andrew Garfield, as well as The Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt on Netflix. And then our sound person had an Emmy, I think, for a documentary she did, for the sound she did. Micah Snope. I think it's Snope. But yeah, they're all very, very kind.
Kelsey, you one of the certainly your disparate experience, and you've done a great job expressing that to us, because your path took you into New York. We've had a couple of people talk to us about New York and your experiences there, but and I was pleased that you'd said you were comfortable enough to address, as you say, mental health issues and concerns with that. You were brave enough as the director of our advanced project early in the process to come to me and explain that to me. And that helped me hopefully guide you in the class. And I thought I saw you grow so much as a director and a person during that year that hopefully that helped you as much as them. If you're comfortable enough, tell us how you think that might have affected your work and your approach to either filmmaking or just life in general.
It's helps. It didn't have as much of an impact at the time, but now that I'm like out of college and stuff, and I can, hindsight's 2020 and everything, I can see now that like I shouldn't have been afraid to ask for more help than I did, because I think part of my anxiety and my depression and stuff is I just want to know how to do things, and I don't want to ask for help because I don't want to seem like I don't know how to do things and not be qualified to do things. And, especially with the remote learning stuff, like it really helped me with my confidence in it, because like I found that, I know what I'm doing. I know how to do things. I know how to set up a schedule. I know how to learn, like it might seem like a silly thing to some of you guys, is I taught myself how to do green screen effects, because like in all the classes I took, we didn't really have a very good, or I shouldn't say it that way. We didn't go into a lot of in-depth on how to use all of the effects. And for a long time, I was like really nervous about green screen, because I'm like, I know this is really hard to do. I hear that it's so hard to get it right and all of this stuff. But then like I learned how to do it, and it's one effect, and it's really, really easy. One of the videos I actually did is I made my own green screen, and I made my own puppets. And I just filmed this because that day, the principal, which is this guy, wasn't able to film. And so I had to problem solve how I'm still going to get this video out and do it in a funny way and all of this stuff. But yeah, definitely while doing Burnt Marshmallows, which was the film in college, because of that nervousness of being perceived as not knowing what I was doing, I had moments now that I'm really ashamed of, and I'm like, wow, I was a bitch. And I kind of want to reach out to some of my classmates from that time, especially my production manager. I felt like I was such an asshole to him. And, you know, all of us didn't know what we were doing, more or less. And I felt even more like I didn't know what I was doing because at my high school, we didn't even have film classes or anything like that. College was the first time I had really been exposed to that kind of stuff.
I think
yeah, and
go ahead. You go.
I meant to say earlier, it's okay to fail and make a new plan and stuff, which is why I kind of wish these classes were done in junior year, or not junior year, in freshman year, to be like, it's good to have a minor that is in something really profitable, even if it's not like your top choice. Because now I'm kind of wishing I had minored in like computer sciences, because I also find that stuff really interesting and fun to do.
Okay. My two comments on that would be, when you talk about failure, the only way, there's one component to failing for all of you, and the only way you can find out that you fail is that you try. And you can't succeed unless you try. Kelsey, you said in a slightly different way, that you were nervous and you're worried about people thinking you don't know what you're doing. Our first interviewee was William Shatner, one of the most well-known actors, directors, producers, etc. And he said nearly the exact same thing. He stopped everybody, he made them all lean in, and he said one secret was nobody knows anything. And everybody out in Hollywood is just as afraid of failure and just as afraid of doing something wrong. So I think when you see people who have the guts, one, to admit that, and two, to try something, that's kind of a personal motto of mine, is that I've kind of learned that if there's something that we want to do, there's no way anybody's going to hand it to you on a plate. You got to go out and try to get it. And if you don't get it, you're no worse off. And I always admired you as a director and a student for doing that. And I think, in my opinion, you just pursued that in your personal life as well. And that's one of the things that I'm hoping, and I think you've already done that now, brought to our class to tell us that. Other things, I know we've got some students who have some questions, but anything else you want to tell us about your life in general?
Yeah, I feel like I didn't mention well enough, like, that even though I'm back in Hinsdale, 30 minutes away from Keene, kind of back where I started, because this is where I grew up, I still kind of have plans in place to do more film stuff, even though I'm,
Right.
Not working in the field at all right now, basically. It's just with Corona, it's kind of hard, because I want to try to, I also I just love my hometown. I love it so much, but it is a very small, boring place, and I would like to make it more than that. I didn't say, over the summer, I actually learned to be a projectionist at the Northfield Drive-In, so that was
cool.
super cool. That was a great job, because it was cool to learn that, and also they gave me free food and paid me $20 an hour.
And you got to see free movies.
Yeah, and I got to see free movies. I got to see Knives Out on the drive-in thing.
Terrific.
That's a great movie if you guys haven't seen it. I watched it every day for 3 weeks. And I feel like I'm coming across as money hungry, but I'm 26 and I have an apartment and I have bills and stuff, so I do need to get paid for work. As much as I would love to just be able to make indies whenever and go out and film my own stuff and stuff, it does take money. And if anybody tells you you're so out by, if you get a retail job or something, you can tell them to shove it, because surviving comes first. Yeah, I would like to get something started in my town where we do film stuff, and then my entire school district is really impressed with the 50 something videos I did with them. So they're hoping that maybe I could start showing kids how to do it there, which would be okay. I'm doing tutorial videos for the library, because I'm actually the librarian, on how to use the catalog system for the kids because they can't come into the library, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to be doing tutorial videos for Teams, which I'm so glad you guys aren't using because it sucks. It's not intuitive at all. And then there's this yearly art project where the fifth graders make these like tiles that then get hung in the kindergarten hallway of the school. And so I'm going to be filming an unveiling of that when it finishes getting set up.
How did you get your position working with the school district?
Nepotism. My mother works there. My sister works there. The principal was the vice principal. Yeah, I know words. He was the vice principal of the high school when I went there. All of the people, like a lot of the people that work there have known me since I was like a small child. So it's basically, I went in and I was like, can I have a job? And they're like, yeah, okay.
But it's contacts,
also,
right?
Yeah, and also like schools are always looking for paraprofessionals because the job sucks. So people are always quitting. So you're like guaranteed employment. Sugar, what was I about to say?
Well, one of the things that I think once again has reinforced everything that I try to say, but also that a lot of our guests have said, is that you get into a spot, nobody's going to hand you a job. So you prove yourself, you get in there, and this is in your work at the school district, this is in your work that you've already talked about on the films that you've worked on, is that you prove yourself invaluable, and people don't want you to leave. They'll find a reason to keep you around. And as you say, hopefully you'll get paid. Sometimes you don't.
Yeah.
But you'll either gain by experience, or those people for whom you've worked for free, the next job that they move on to, they'll say, oh yeah, Kelsey did this, let's get her. And then you start getting paid positions.
Yeah, because I didn't think to say that, but the producer on Love and Culinary who emailed Keene State, she was the one who got me the job on 8 because she also went over there and just brought me along because she's like, she's delightful, you should hire her. And then one of our camera people from Love and Culinary, his name's John Mercier, he was going to have a project that I think fell through, but he was going to have me work on it and stuff. It just didn't pan out. But the other film thing I have hopefully going for me soon, and I think you're going to be talking to this person later on as a guest, but Sybil, yeah. Yeah. I was going to work on her film over the summer, but then I was like, I don't know if I feel comfortable with that, with, the corona, because I got like elderly parents and a grandmother with cancer right now. So that didn't pan out, and she decided to postpone.
We've had a lot of our professionals talk about it, and I know, Kelsey, you've either been an attendee or sat in on a lot of our discussions with other folks, that the pandemic has put a shutdown to so much production that it's become, there's so little material out there that maybe even if you can possibly, do independent stuff, there's more of a venue. But yeah, it's put a shutdown on that. You folks may have seen that. I think Disney. Well, this is more the Disney parks, but it's just affected the industry quite dramatically.
Yeah.
And so hopefully once things will loosen back up.
Because like just looking at it from the perspective of working at an elementary school, if you're not a student, you basically cannot come into the building.
Right.
Everybody's temperatures are taken before they enter the building every day. That's all of the kids, all of the adults. Everybody has to have a mask on at all times unless they are eating, or if they're having a mask break outside where they have to be sitting 6 feet away from each other. Just so much hand sanitizer. I am like really worried about my skin in a couple of months because I'm sure it's going to be super dried out. But like if you're looking at a production where there's even more moving parts, and you're like traveling and going to different places and stuff, like the costs of all of this protective stuff is astronomical.
What are the ages of your students?
I work in the elementary school where we have
Okay.
preschool to 5th grade.
So how difficult is that to get them to recognize the need to stay socially distanced? I mean, I think, a kindergartner, they're going to run up and just want to hug their friends and stuff. How do you instill that in them?
I'm not sure how much I legally can say.
Fair enough.
Yeah. It's difficult though. And it's like, it's not just the kids, because us adults find ourselves doing it a lot. Is like just kind of human nature is to gravitate towards people. And it also doesn't help with the masks. It's hard to hear people. So you move closer automatically. And we have this special kind of learning we're doing called social emotional learning for the kids, where like we're really being careful not to have this be super traumatic to them and stuff. And we're using certain phrases to explain Corona, especially to the little kids. We're being like, well, you have to wear your mask to keep yourself safe and to keep your friends safe so that we don't get sick. But, we're not going to be like, keep your mask on or you'll die. Because that wouldn't be great. But even then, there's still kids that they kind of just refuse. And we've had, the principal has had to be like, you need to be remote learning now, because they refuse to keep their masks on.
Dylan, I know you had some questions. You emailed me some questions for Kelsey. And if anybody else has any, whether it's about her work experience, about, her work experience now, about in the stuff that she did in New York and film. Dylan, you had a couple?
Yeah, just a quick one. I'm in capstone right now. Any advice you can give? Just any at all?
You said a capstone?
That's the 3-4.
Oh, okay. Are you in Tom's 3-4 or one of the one where it's different groups?
No, Tom's not teaching capstone. I'm in a different professor's capstone. Just in general about production, hints, anything, organization, just anything.
I have some good advice that I don't remember where I heard it from. It might have been my mom. That you might feel really strongly towards your project because it's your project, but your classmates might not, because they don't, it's not their project, it's a grade. And that's okay. Just really try to remember to be kind to them. Because I like I said earlier, I felt like there were times that I was just like a straight up bitch. Which, I feel really, really bad about now. And I'm saying this be a good person, but also these people could get you drops down the line. And then also don't be afraid to go to your teacher or to even your classmates and be like, hey, how do you do this? Or how would you do this? And be open to, be open to hearing other people's ideas, but also try to practice knowing when to cut those ideas off. If that makes sense. You don't want too many cooks in the kitchen, basically. I hope that answered your question.
Yeah. Anybody got
thank you.
Other questions? I know Dylan has a few.
No, that was just my main one.
Okay. Anybody else? Megan, jump in.
Just a quick question about Love and
Kilnary.
So I'm from Portsmouth, so I was just wondering, I know they were looking for a lot of people as extras and crew members my senior year of high school. So can you just talk about your experience on that set and the location? What did you do in Portsmouth? What was shooting there like?
Here, I'm going to drop a link to the trailer into the chat if you want to check it out later, because you'll probably recognize some of the places.
And what was your role in that film?
In that film, I was script supervisor after the 3 days. I was script supervisor, and I was also kind of kid wrangler, because we did have a scene where we were at some elementary school. I don't know if there's multiple in that area. And I got the kids to do what they needed them to do. What was that place called? We ended up filming at this place called Tulips, I think. It's like this little store with a lot of like local art. And the owner of that place was nuts. She like came to set to watch what we were doing, and she was plastered. That was fun and also the worst ever because that film didn't have very good turnaround time stuff. Like the lead guy, who is also kind of the boss, like kind of didn't care if we got enough sleep or stayed with union rules and stuff. And they did get reported to union at one point because we had like a 4-hour turnaround time one day.
So Kelsey, for some of the students who may not know, what's a turnaround time mean?
Just like time offset. You're not working. And I think the rule is you're supposed to get like at least 8 hours so that you can sleep. Otherwise, like the working conditions are nuts. But at Tulips, the art director, Tabitha Pease, but like P-E-S-E-S, who is just a delightful human, got there at like 7 a.m. or some crazy thing like that after we had worked the day before until like 9 or something. Like it probably was later than that. It's probably like 10. It's all kind of a blur. But she got there super early because she needed to take everything off of all of the shelves to put her own stuff onto the shelves. And she like asked all of the production assistants, she's like, if anybody can show up, I would really appreciate it. And I was one of the people, and I was like the first one there that wasn't her or the producer Courtney, and they like saw me, and she like started like crying, and she's like, you showed up. So that was one of the places we filmed, was Tulips. We filmed at the police station in Portsmouth, and we filmed at a beach somewhere, but I don't know if that was in Portsmouth. We filmed at a church in Portsmouth. We filmed, I think, outside of it and also inside of it. And we filmed on a sidewalk into an alley somewhere on Portsmouth. What other places did we go? There were a lot of places for that. It was a couple years ago too, so.
Good. Other questions, folks? Curtis, jump in.
What was really your favorite experience between the two projects that you worked on? Like, what was one thing that really stuck out to you?
So, what I really loved about Love and Kilnary is kind of the camaraderie we all ended up having about how stupid this main guy was, because he kept just costing us so much money. And also kind of like, how bad the whole thing was running with time and stuff, and turnaround hours were being crazy and all of this jazz. And just like, there ended up being a lot of inside jokes, because this production lasted a couple months, I think. I think I only had to be there for like a month and a half. And I did go down to New York when they did do that. They did some stuff in there. And then afterwards, it was just kind of like pickups. But like, we all became such good friends, and like, there's so many good memories from it. And like, I think back sometimes, and I'm like, God, that was such a nuts thing I did. Like, that was so crazy. I had that opportunity. And like, I think back of it fondly, even if at some of the times I'm like, this fucking sucks. Yeah, so that's what I really, really enjoyed about that. And the finished product I'm like really proud of because it came together really well. And it's, it's objectively, I think, a pretty good movie. It's pretty funny. And then what I loved most about 8 was that, like, we started each day and we're like, this is what we want to get done. The AD and the director were like, this is what we want to get done. And then we would do that. And if we didn't do it, the lead and scriptwriter would talk to the director and the AD and be like, okay, this is what we need to cut because we are not going over our 5 days. We are not going over hours. And like that dedication to, respecting our time was really, really memorable.
Good. What else? Darwin, Michael, any questions? Amy, anything going on? So what have you got? So you're actually going into the school and working with the kids right now, right? Okay.
Kind of.
Any trepidation about that? On
Sorry?
your part? Any trepidation on your part about that?
Yeah, I kind of debated for quite a bit if I was going to go back and be in building or not. It helps that we're like a teeny tiny school and there's like 200 kids. And I'm not working in classrooms with kids as much. I'm kind of being like a weird mix of tech support and librarian and recess support. Because all the teachers have remote students, so I'm there to help like with the webcams and stuff. And then just like general tech things. If you learn tech skills, you will be very, very useful. I should say if you learn any kind of like niche skill, you're going to be super useful. In Love and Kilnary, we had a guy who knew how to fix cars, and one of our props was like a cop car, but it was like an SUV thing. And that thing was a piece of junk. It kept breaking, and he kept fixing it. And then on 8, we had a guy who knew about plumbing, which was really great when our one bathroom kept getting clogged and like would not flush. So super, super invaluable. But yeah, I am a little bit nervous leaving my apartment basically at all, just because I have so many at-risk people, and with kind of my mental health issues, I don't do really good completely alone for long periods of time. Like, part of the reason I moved back to Hinsdale is I live 2 minutes away from my mother. My dog is there because I don't have a yard and it would be mean for her to live with me. Anybody, like my whole support system is around me for me to see. And like, but if I were to get sick, I wouldn't be able to see them for 2 or more weeks. And that thought really makes me nervous. So
I'll unquestionably say that if we're talking about more on a personal level, some of you know that I've had health issues. Particularly, I had to leave teaching last spring in February, and I spent about half my summer this past summer in the hospital. And with the corona thing, and this was when it was just getting underway. Kelsey, I'll second that. For me, the most difficult part was being unable to have visitors, have anybody come and see you, having the nurses come in their DEFCON 5 riot gear, where you'd think if you touched them they were going to melt away. It's been an interesting, if anything, for me, it's been an interesting look into human behavior, and I never thought that I needed or wanted interpersonal contact quite as much as this year has shown me, both with that and the fact that we're all remote learners right now. And occasionally I'm able to get into in-person classes with this course I'm teaching, co-teaching with a colleague of mine, Joanne On. She goes in every week, and I go in maybe once a month, just out of concerns for health issues. But those are by far the most interesting, and it's the interpersonal involvement, and I think that's one of the things as filmmakers that we miss and crave. And
Yeah.
hopefully, I'm sure we'll get back to that, but it may not be real soon.
Yeah, because it's weird because I'm like a big homebody, but so I was like good for like nearly 2 months, like just kind of being alone. The only person I saw was the principal when we went into film, and that was like, you know, maybe 2 hours twice a week. The rest of the time I was remote editing and just sending it to him and him being like, yeah, that's good.
Right.
And then like summer hit and I was like freaking out, and it's like, I need to see somebody. I need to go to my mom's house. I'm just going to spend a little bit of time there. Because I started feeling unsafe by myself, like mental illness unsafe, not like paranoid unsafe.
Right.
If y'all are catching my drift. So, you know, and I seem probably really upbeat right now, but especially the last couple of months, I've just been frustrated to tears by my own inability to like just go out and do shit. And not just because of Corona, but just because I'm so anxious or I'm so like depressed that it's hard to get out of bed. And even like in the last week, like all last week, I got home after work and just like cried every day because I am so broke, because, you know, the pay at the school's not great, but it's consistent, and my paycheck is going to insurance and rent, and that's it. And, you know, it's really rough and it's really frustrating. But, you know, the upside is, I really encourage you guys to go to the Hinsdale School District YouTube webpage and check out some of the videos. All of the ones that look really good are probably the ones I did. But I worked with the music teacher and one of the fourth grade teachers, and we did a couple of parody songs. Like we did a parody of the Beatles, I Want to Hold Your Hand, but they changed the lyrics to like, I want you to wash your hands and stuff like that for the kids for, you know, COVID. And I would love to do more stuff with those ladies because they're very talented and they're very funny. And so, you know, and it helps me work on my skills because I also didn't end up, is Irina still at Key State?
Sure.
Okay, I took production 1 with her, and she like did not want to do the music video, so I hadn't ever done a music video before this parody song, and like I found out that I really, really like doing it. So I'm hoping we can do more of those. It just hasn't happened yet.
Great.
So,
Anybody
like,
else? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, it's okay. So like even if you have like a dumb idea, like it's probably not dumb for one, but even if you feel it's dumb, like just go out and do it, because like at the worst that's gonna happen is you have this footage you don't show anybody. But even then you're still like honing your skills. And I know that sounds like super corny and, you know, like, okay, I'll just go out and shoot a movie kind of stuff, but you know, like
you're never gonna
get
better. You're never gonna get better. Your skills as filmmakers are never going to improve unless you do the work, whether it's for class or hopefully you're getting paid, or as Kelsey says, you do it for yourself. So you're entertaining yourself. There's nothing wrong with that. Then you post it, and who's going to see that?
Yeah, because within the first couple of weeks, I think like the Department of Education head of New Hampshire had seen the videos and had tweeted about it, which was really cool. And I was kind of like pushing them on everybody I knew, and I was like, look at these videos I make. So like even if you're like cooking yourself dinner or something, set up any camera you have. It doesn't even have to be a good one. Like I have XA35s. I got 2 of those, and I also have some mics. The mics are actually relatively new though. Just you don't need like the latest and greatest. Just like set it up, film it, and then like go to town with the editing. Put a bunch of stupid effects on it. Like there's so many free green screen effects on YouTube that you can just like download and they're yours. That you can just like throw on stuff. It's great.
Folks, any last questions before we let Kelsey leave? We can all head back.
All right.
Kelsey, thanks very much. I think I encourage you to reassess your success, because I think you've done a lot of great work and you found a path for yourself that will use your skills. It sounds like you've self-trained yourself. That's redundant. But in pursuing your own education, and that's what we've got to do. I've been teaching myself. I mean, so let's say I've been in the film industry for 30 years. I'm still learning a lot of new things, and it's just going to continue. So as filmmakers, we never stop learning. And I think Kelsey's a good example of that. Yep.
More advice, really quick. Oh my God.
No need to be quick.
Before you leave college, purchase a year subscription to the Adobe Creative Cloud, because right now, as students, you get a discount unless you like already have your own editing software. But if you're interested in animation at all, I just found out that it's just something I've been playing with. Adobe has something called Character Animator, and if you know how to like rig the puppets and stuff, then you can program it to track your face with a webcam to like do the words and stuff. Like you have to draw out the different sound movements, but like once you've drawn them out once, it then like programs it itself by tracking your mouth movements and hearing the sound to just do it. I don't remember what Tom just said that made me think of that, but something to play with if you're interested in it.
Well, and it's about, I think, always advancing your skills as a filmmaker. And if you're talking about, and this is available, this is free to everybody. Kelsey, I don't know if you've been chiming in early enough to hear this, but the animation software that Pixar uses is called RenderMan, and they offer it for free to anybody.
Yeah, Ghibli, that did like Spirited Away, etc. The one they use is free, but the name of it escapes me at the moment.
Okay.
One other thing that is free that you guys should look into is something called DVD Styler, and that is a program that you can like make DVDs with, so you can like have a menu with options and do like chapter select and all this stuff, which if you do independent stuff like a wedding or something, it just adds that extra little bit that might get you more jobs, because they'll be like, did you see my wedding video? It has this amazing menu. It looks like a real DVD.
Well, and Kelsey's right that as students, you'll get you have such an opportunity to get tremendous discounts on software and things like that. You'd mentioned the Adobe Cloud, which I think for you folks is $10 a month, which isn't bad.
It's 10 or 12. You can prepay for the year, and it's like 300 and something.
Right. I keep pushing Avid. You folks know I'm an Avid guy, and Avid Media Composer First is free. It's not as powerful as full-blown Avid or Final Cut or Premiere, but you can do an awful lot with it. So as nascent filmmakers, Kelsey says the exact right thing, is that my push for you as students is give you the skills so you can go out and make a living. Because you got to pay, as talented as you may be, your landlord is not going to say, oh, don't worry about the rent. You make great movies, Curtis. I'm so happy to see your latest movie. I loved it. No, and by the way, where's my $500? You have to support yourself. And often that's the first venue that hopefully you can get enough going that on the side you can start fulfilling your creative side.
Don't let your family talk you into doing weddings for free.
Oh my God. Wedding Videos 1 can be the most lucrative freelance job you can find, but they're a lot of work. A lot of work. Good points. What else?
Um, oh.
Anything
If
from
you
anybody?
if you are interested in getting your own equipment, do a lot of research and get insurance on it.
Why do you say that?
I dropped one of my cameras. It did not break. The next day I got insurance on it because, I'm broke. I don't have money. But I think I have State Farm insurance on my cameras now, which I just paid up front, and it wasn't like it was less than 500. It might have been 2 something, because I got so lucky that I did not break my camera, because these cameras cost me like 2,000 to 2,500, something like that. And if it had broke, I would have just been fucked. So get insurance ahead of time, and make sure your insurance covers like damages and theft and stuff like that. And find the serial numbers on your equipment and write them down somewhere safe. Save them in a cloud. Tattoo them to your eyelids. Because if they ever, God forbid, were stolen, that is like what the police use to make sure they're yours.
Good life lesson there.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Which, again, never happened to me, and I'm hoping it never does, but I have myself covered, God forbid.
Well, don't anybody take off quite yet, but I would like to thank Kelsey for being here with us. I would like anybody who's been watching, thank you very much. This was our fourth career development interview with either a former Keene State grad, well, a Keene State grad, not former grad. She's a current grad, and filmmaker. Next week, we'll be doing these every week. Next week, we'll be speaking with Alan Bell, who is a very established Hollywood editor. He's worked on The Amazing Spider-Man, the Hunger Games trilogies, Water for Elephants, and he recently moved back to the Monadnock region. And one of my big questions is, why in the world, although it's great around here, those of you who live here know what it's like, but he's got an interesting perspective on that. So invite you back every week. Want to thank Kelsey once again. Want to thank Mark Gempler and Misty Kennedy for helping produce all of these. And hopefully we will see you folks in our interview with Alan Bell next week. Have a good week.